Lots of encounters?
Oh yeah, I've got over 5,000 dives.
Oh yeah, so you have a lot
with
of...
a dive company.
Yeah, okay.
I've never paid to go diving with dive companies. I've done it all on my own, all off my sailboats.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my idea of traveling has always been, you know, looking at nautical charts and then, you know, looking for canyons and seamounts and looking at areas and saying, you know what, I want to dive there. I don't think anybody's ever dove there before. And that's the way I've traveled the Caribbean.
Cool.
You know, when people think about different islands like Los Roques, Venezuela, or Jardines de la Reina in Cuba, they think about what they saw above the water, but I'm thinking about canyons and caves and different things that I found below the water that I know 500 miles from a scuba company nobody's ever seen. You know, that's my idea of traveling.
Very sweet.
We've been fortunate to be able to be out here, and you know, the British Virgin Islands has been known as a diving destination and a dive mecca for 35 to 40 years, starting with Kilbrides up in the North Sound of Virgin Gorda. And when we opened up in December of 2001, no one had ever dived the Northwest British Virgin Islands because everybody dove Virgin Gorda and south side from Norman to Ginger. So, you know, nobody would open up in Jost van Dyke to make $1 million, but nonetheless, we have the best diving in the BVI, as you can just see from that, a dive like we did there. It was a very good dive, but we have a lot of exciting dives with life, and we're going to an area that's never been commercially dived. That means lots of fish and virgin reefs. You can see a little shipwreck over here that we're getting ready to pass on the North Shore of Little Jost van Dyke, and that poor fellow had crossed the Atlantic. Came all the way across the Atlantic and then miscalculated his landfall and put his little 25-foot sailboat up on the rocks here on the north side of Little Jost van Dyke. I've been ashore looking to see if there was anything that we could do to try to get the boat off, and the other side of the boat is all ripped up. There's holes the size of a Volkswagen on the other side of it. You can also see here breaking the water a very small little seamount that comes out. That's got about 25 feet of water all the way around it. It's a very good snorkeling site. When we're doing our eco tours and the people are a little bit more adventurous, we'll take them out here and do a little snorkeling around there. We see a lot of nurse sharks and black tips, and basically you can see anything here because the second deepest ocean depth in the world is 33,000 feet deep, and it's the north drop starts 11 miles from Jost van Dyke, and it starts dropping down to several thousand. And the Mariana Trench is known to be the deepest depth at 36,000 feet. And at 33,000 feet, which is quite a ways here from where we are in Jost van Dyke, but the north drop does start 11 miles from Jost van Dyke. We're the closest island to the north drop. Now, we just passed our whale season. From December to April, this is the third best place in the Caribbean to see the humpback whales. And they spend 8 to 9 months of the year up in the North Atlantic where they feed on big schools of herring. But they come down when the winter storms get really bad and all those low pressure systems develop off of Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. They come from the North Atlantic and they come down to the Caribbean to mate and calve. And so they actually don't eat. The whole time they're in the Caribbean, they're on a diet, but they're down here in big groups of calves and little baby whales. This is the third best place, the first being the Silver Bank between the Dominican Republic and the Turks and Caicos, and the second being the La Guaira Bank up in Venezuela where I used to live. The third best place to see them is the North Drop. So all of these North Shore, what we consider Atlantic dive sites, even though we're on the edge of the Caribbean, once we're on the north side we consider Atlantic sites. All of these sites from December to April, we hear the humpbacks mating, doing their calls, and you can hear all of the different, you know, sounds and vibrations, and it literally penetrates your chest. Very interesting.
Have you done a lot of dives with them, with the whales?
Well, we've had some encounters with humpback whales, but from an ecotourism standpoint, we don't feel that it's productive for the environment for us to go and spot the whales and then jump in the water with them and molest them. I don't believe it's dangerous because I have swam with whales many, many times in my adventures. But, you know, from an ecotourism standpoint, we don't think that that is sustainable tourism, to go and find the whales and to jump in the water with them and molest them, because, you know, they're they know what they're doing, and all we're here to do is to observe them from a distance. All right, we're at a dive site called the Twin Towers, and this is on Little Jost van Dyke. Little Jost van Dyke and Pelican Key. This little island right here, Pelican Key, on all of the nautical charts, all the British Admiralty charts, it shows that Pelican Key is a separate island and that there's actually water passing between Pelican Key and Little Jost van Dyke. But at least in my lifetime, I've noticed that it's connected to Little Jost. So we've got Pelican Key and Little Jost van Dyke, and we're at a site called the Twin Towers. And as I mentioned before, this dive site's had a name for over 20 years. And it got its name because there's two monolithic sized boulders that are sitting down on 86-foot sand bottom, and they're covered in all kinds of hard and soft corals. It's a really spectacular dive. We like to do this dive as a multi-level dive. Rather than just going down to 86 feet and doing a 22-minute dive, we're going to go down to do the deepest section first at 86 feet. We've got a couple of gorgeous swim-through caverns down there. You'll notice some Gorgonian corals. And even though our attention is going to be drawn toward the walls and all of the beautiful corals coming down the side, you're going to notice that I'm going to be paying attention out into that open blue water. That's where we're looking for spotted passing eagle rays, and also the possible Atlantic manta rays and the bigger pelagic sharks. Some of the biggest tiger and bull sharks I've ever seen have been on this dive site, and this is one of the reasons why a lot of people don't come dive here. But if we're lucky today, we'll be able to see something pretty. So we're going to do a multi-level dive with a maximum bottom time of about 45 minutes. Start out at 86 feet. Then we're going to work our way up and around and through the two monolithic sized boulders. And then we're going to be basically outgassing in like a 30 to 20 foot range for a 15 to 25 minute part of the dive, where we're actually going to be exploring over into this area. Probably we'll see some bait fish as well, some schooling silver sides, could see some tarpon, and many different varieties of fish. Here in the caverns we've seen big Cubera snappers, had a jewfish here for a while, haven't seen it the last couple of dives, but you never know what we're going to see. The visibility is great today, and I'm expecting to be about 75 to 90 feet down below. So we're going to have a good dive.
One of the things you got to do when you're running a dive shop is make sure the boat doesn't go anywhere. So mooring maintenance is utmost importance. Last time I dove this site a few days ago, I noticed that we needed to move the chain up because the chain was really weak. And what we do in a lot of these cases is, rather than go and actually put something down into the seabed, we will take chain and wrap it around a large boulder. So what I briefed these guys to help me out with today is, when we were going down actually on the dive site, we had somebody back us up on the boat to take the stress off the line. We actually did a little commercial work, although I would consider it rookie commercial work, because it wasn't anything more than just moving a shackle back down the line and making sure the boat was secured. So, just a little peek into one of the little things that a lot of people overlook. Is basic safe diving practice for any dive master or instructor out there. Anytime you grab a buoy and you got a boat tied to it, you got to inspect it. Going down and coming up, you got to inspect every inch of it and make sure that boat's going to be there when you come back.
exciting dive on the Twin Towers. You know, it's very rare that you get to dive with the Cubera snapper. And the Cubera snapper is one of the apex predators of the reef. It's one of those animals that nothing eats, and it can eat anything. A couple of other exciting things that we saw in that dive was the schooling Atlantic bonito. Okay, some people call those little types of tuna, but it's actually an Atlantic bonito. And to see those schooling out in the open ocean like that, I was expecting to see something big. Typically when we see those bonito like that, it means dolphin are around. The porpoise, the spotted dolphin and porpoise come up, and that's their mainstay diet, is the Atlantic bonito. Also saw a couple of really nice amberjack on the dive. And at the beginning of the dive, if you were wondering what I was doing, I was making sure the boat was going to be here when we came back. You know, one of the things about diving in the Out Islands is we've got to assemble our own mooring systems, and I had noticed a couple of dives ago that I knew the next time I grabbed a hold of this mooring, I was going to move the shackle down a little bit into some thicker water. So what I had done is I took down a safety line with me, and I rigged that from the solid chain to the line that was connecting to the boat while I made the adjustments on the chain and moved up the shackle. That was an exciting dive. I noticed you know, quite a variety of fish there, and we were lucky enough to get a good encounter with a nurse shark at the end of the dive. So I know we got some good footage off of that. The nurse sharks are a very interesting type of a reef creature. It's one of the only varieties of sharks that we have in the Caribbean that actually don't need to swim. It undulates its gill plates and moves the oxygen over its gill plates. So we got some really nice close-ups in on that. And you guys might have noticed in one of the caverns that I went into, I came out with the carcass or the shell of a spotted lobster. Some people call those a rock lobster. It's not the same as the Caribbean spiny lobster, which get much bigger. That was about the maximum size. And if you notice, when I turned it over, it was clean and smooth, like something had absolutely polished it out. And what that is it was eaten by an octopus. The lobster has very few predators on the reef, one being the nurse shark, the other being the grouper, and the apex predator of all of them is the octopus, which is considered one of the smartest animals. And they will actually go in and suck the meat out of the tail and out of the shell. So that was a really interesting part of the dive. Hope you guys enjoyed it.